most builders should be walking with a 10 to 12% net margin on that thing.
When you hit within 5% of budget on $1 million house, that's $50,000. On a $300,000 house, that's 15 grand.
Trent, mics are hot, baby. We are ready to rumble. We're ready to rumble, sir. I appreciate you hopping on.
Oh yeah, glad to be here.
Love it. Let's just go ahead and start and give the listeners a little background on Trent Waldrop here.
Just short history. I went to architecture school and graduated. Worked in civil engineering for about 7 years. When the recession hit, kind of saw the writing on the wall. I was doing a lot of the community planning, neighborhood design, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of thought it was going to go away. So I decided to move. When I moved, I thought I really was going to be able to find another job pretty easily. I had been a part of a couple of higher profile in our community projects, I guess you'd say, after Katrina. And a lot of the tiny house Katrina cottage stuff was involved in a lot of that. So I thought it wouldn't be any problem whatsoever finding a job after the fact. But didn't work out that way, so I went into sales. So I worked sales. I've had every job in the car industry you could have. I've worked at the factory. I've sold them. I've been a service writer. I've done it all. And I left the car business, just because I got tired of the hours, working on the weekends and things like that. And went to work for Sunbelt Rentals, equipment company. Started making a lot of contacts in the construction industry, and I had built my own house in 2012, and it was a barn-dominium. Nobody around here had ever seen a barn-dominium, even knew what it was. It was before the word barn-dominium existed.
Yeah.
And people would literally pull in my driveway. And granted, I live out in the country, so my house sits way back off the road. I'm not in a neighborhood or anything like that. They'd pull in my driveway, knock on the door, and want to look inside.
Yeah.
So after years of sending people down the road, I started building spec houses and selling them. And then started building, I guess you'd say, custom houses, which that term so loosely because I built more of like semi-custom houses, I guess you say. They're just a custom home because they're for the end user, but they're just entry-level, basic, average middle-class homes, like 200 to on the high end, maybe $400,000.
Beautiful.
Houses.
Love it. How did you choose to go that path? Because I feel like there's a lot of builders that are always just like, I want to build the biggest, the baddest, the sexiest. And last time we talked, you were talking pretty highly of and pretty excited about the product you build. How did you choose to just stay in that lane? What's the motivator there?
I thought I wanted to do the same thing. And the two worst client experiences I've ever had was to build a higher end home for around here, $600,000, $700,000 houses. And I guess it's my ADD.
Okay.
I get tired of going to it. I don't want to post up and yeah, it's all well and good and all those things to have those in your portfolio. And if that's what you're passionate about, that's fine, but not me. I want to move in, move on. And the other part of it is it's just a market of people that's grossly underserved by this industry.
Sure.
And it may be different in other parts of the country, but here, rural Mississippi, there's a lot of people that's got family, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, grandparents that have 40, 50, 60, maybe a couple hundred acres that they're willing to sell for really affordable or even give, a younger person that's just starting out or been married a couple of years, a couple acres of land to build a house on.
Sure.
And then a lot of these people are not the kind of people that's going to build $1 million house. They're just average, kind of a lot of blue collar work in our area. We have a good bit of manufacturing. Maybe somebody works in a factory and wife's a school teacher.
Totally.
Dude, and just want an average home. Don't want to buy a manufactured home. A lot of people don't realize, unless it's changed, this may be old data, but used to, Mississippi had the second most manufactured homes per capita in the country.
Who were they behind? Do you remember?
South Carolina.
Was it South Carolina? Dang.
I don't know if it's still that. I mean, we're talking about probably 10 years ago. I knew that. I worked with a lady. Her son owns, I think he's got 6 lots now. It's a big manufactured home dealer here in our area. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest around. So that was kind of how I knew that. Now I got a good friend that's in the insurance business. He's not an agent. He's an underwriter and administrative side of the insurance business.
Sure.
The part that people don't see.
Totally. Cool. Well, go ahead. I was going to dig in a little bit, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I got to that point. A perfect example, we had a contract signing 3 weeks ago. We're fixing to get started on it. And they had looked at manufactured homes and they're like, before we pull the trigger on a manufactured home, won't we just call somebody? And found me and we're fixing to build them a house.
Dude, I love it. And this is like certainly not to I think the need with home building is interesting, especially when you're doing like custom homes or semi-custom, because it always has to do with the consumer. But I think it's awesome that you kind of looked at who you were and what product you wanted to deliver to the market. And I guess I wouldn't even say it's as much as a self-control, but just like a self-awareness and a passion. Like, I want to deliver a product, a good quality built home that might not have all the bells and whistles, but damn, will it be a good product to a very large portion of society. I guess, what would you say influenced you in wanting to go down that path and motivate it? Obviously, you'd mentioned the 2 pieces, but what specifically, like what about you makes you the guy to do it?
I just relate with those kind of people better. I come from a single parent household, single mom. She's worked for the Postal Service for 28 years, 27 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And most of the people I grew up around were, I guess a lot of people talk about not seeing people in the trades and the trade gap. But I mean, everybody I grew up around were mechanics and carpenters. And, most of the people I grew up with were some kind of welder, machinist, tool and die, or mechanics, heating and air guys.
Totally.
My best friend in high school, his dad had a refrigeration business. They worked on coolers. Mm-hmm. And my other best friend in high school, him and his dad, to this day, still fix commercial laundry equipment for laundromats, hotels, stuff like that.
Totally.
So I guess you say those are my people.
Totally.
Just a little more attuned to them, I guess.
Totally. Well, and I think, like, again, I'm very much under the school of thought of like building a home it's building a product. It's a very emotional product, right? This is it's a huge investment for people. Doesn't matter if it's a $5 million home or it's a $300,000 home. It's a huge investment for whoever's buying it. And it's the product that they probably spend the most time in, right? But I'm curious, when you look at from a business standpoint and you've gone down this path of building a $200,000 to $400,000 product. How do you view running project financials on it? Because I feel like there would be a lot of people that would immediately be like, God, like, how is Trent making any money on this? And the reality of it is, it's like, it's no different than any other product. Go ahead.
Well, we switched in, I guess, during COVID, tail end of COVID. We got caught with our pants down on a couple of projects.
Okay.
Me and everybody else. When prices started going up.
I think I know where you're going with this, yeah.
And we did fixed price for a long time.
Yep.
And we do a cost plus model, but we charge a flat fee to build the house. It rolls to a percentage based on the dollar amount of the house, but for the average contract we've been taking here lately, it's just a flat fee.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not so sure that with the trends of pricing that seem to stabilize to some degree,
mm-hmm.
that we're not going to go back to a fixed price model. But either way, I like Adaptive because before we signed up for it, I would say our cost recapture rate on houses. At the end of the year when we did our taxes and stuff like that, we were probably in that, 75, 80% of actual recapturing the cost and making sure they got billed to the client.
Okay, wait. You're saying that you were only capturing 75 to 80% of the cost?
Yeah.
And was this on the cost plus model, or would you say that was regardless of model?
On the cost plus model.
Dang. Okay. Well, go ahead.
Before I had this simpler method, I almost, if it was less than, say, like $150, $250 in that range, we didn't worry about billing it to the project. It doesn't matter now. If we go by, literally the job we're working on that I left to come here today, we bought some anchor bolts to mount TVs for them, like $25 purchase, literally scan, build right to them, because we're going to use every one of them anchor bolts at their house.
Right.
Dang, they're TVs. They need, it's a cost.
They should be paying for it.
They should be paying for it.
Okay. Time out. I didn't necessarily intend for this to become a plug for Adaptive. I appreciate you mentioning it, sure. But I think that what you just said is probably the more meaningful part of it, right? Because when I was curious of how do you view tracking financials and running a business on a product that just candidly is lower priced than what a lot of builders are doing, right? It's it doesn't matter if it's a $5 million home. It doesn't matter if there's $3 million in build cost in this thing or not. TV bolts or anchor bolts. They should be getting billed back. So that's why I was curious, how do you view tracking financials to deliver a product that's in that price range and still make an adequate living and run a healthy business?
Yeah. But you have to track it like a hawk when you're building a lower margin product. Because, a cost overrun on a $250,000 house, you miss $5,000, you're talking about 5%.
Totally.
Yeah, that's right. 5%.
Yeah.
Of the total build.
Yeah. Totally. And I think I think the margin, I had another builder on here. We were talking about margin and how to track it. And it just doesn't matter if it's a $250,000 house or not. Most builders are going to be walking new construction builders, I should preface, right? Not a remodeler. A remodeler is going to be a little bit different game, specialty trades, a little bit different game when it comes to margin. But most builders should be walking with a 10 to 12% net margin on that thing. It should be very simply put, you're building $100,000 or $1 million home. It should be $100,000 in net profit, right?
Yeah.
And just to your point even more is like, that's where it's like when you're building a $200,000 product, it gets that much hairier, right, on it. And it's like, it's that much more important.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think we're averaging about 18.5% net, which to somebody doing 10 million a year, that sounds wonderful.
It's huge. Yeah.
But yeah, we'd have to build 100 houses to hit
Yeah.
$10 million.
Yeah. Of course.
Or 50 anyway.
Yeah.
So we have to have a margin. And now that we've kind of dialed in our job tracking and our systems for that, and it's getting better every day, implementing even more processes. We've hired an outside bookkeeping company, some things like that. And we almost feel confident enough now, looking at the trends of, say, the last 10 houses we've built, where we've hit budget wise, the under overages on the budgets, and how much was that our estimating versus things they've added.
Totally.
And we're always, and I'm pretty proud of this, because when you hit within 5% of budget, you know, on $1 million house, you know, that's $50,000. On a $300,000 house, you know, you're talking about $1,500.
Right. 10 grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Well, let's see.
Yeah. Run your calculator. 300,000 on a 5%.
That's 15 grand.
15 grand. Yeah. 10 grand, 15 grand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
do that, and that's lights out.
Yeah. And so when we've been hitting, as long as everybody follows our plan, what we lay out in the beginning, which a lot of problems with this, and a lot of builder gets a lot of heat for budget overruns and stuff. But most of the, well, I would say probably 60-40. 40% is bad estimating or just missed something. And then you've got probably another, of that 40%, you probably got 60% of people that on this cost plus model, and it's terrible it's happening this way, but there's guys throwing their finger up in the air and throwing a price out there to get the job, knowing deep down in their heart that they cannot build the house for that. So
we just had a conversation about this, but keep going. I literally just had this conversation at dinner. Keep going.
But the last 8 houses, we have a financing contingency in our contract. So I lay out an estimate. When I get the estimate done, I add 10% to it. And that's my finance contingency.
Okay.
And we haven't exceeded the finance contingency in the last 10 houses.
Dang.
So we've been less than 10% overrun.
Dude, that's great. That's killer.
And so with that being said, we're probably going to ease back to a fixed price model.
And you're confident you can do that because you have the data, and you're confident that what you throw out from an estimating standpoint will be within a 5, call it 10% on a bad day.
Yeah.
Overrun margin.
And we got a little upper hand on the estimating side of things. I went to architecture school. I'm not a licensed architect. I didn't go through all that. But I did drafting, design, and architecture work for 7 years. And then we do all our plans. We design build, I guess you'd say. That sounds fluffy, but we do all our plans in-house. And, I mean, I can only think of maybe, I think I've built 2 houses out of, I guess we're sitting on 39 completed houses in the last 5 years.
Awesome.
And I think 2 is plans that I didn't do.
Dang. Okay. Yeah, you're a design build guy, Trent. You're a design build guy.
Yeah, I mean, And I built a physical therapy clinic, commercial project, physical therapy clinic. Matter of fact, I broke my foot about 8 weeks ago. I've been down there having therapy on it, and I designed it, 4,000 square foot physical therapy clinic, and then we're fixing to start a 7,000 square foot Snap Fitness and chiropractor's office, and I guess saying it publicly now, the other space is going to be our storefront office.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, I think you built the physical therapy clinic because you had a broke foot. You needed a place to get it taken care of. And
Yeah, I know.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know. I asked her if I was going to get a deal, and she goes, "Well, did I get a deal on my bill?"
And you're like, well, no, but
Oh,
um,
I take that back. She did some therapy on my shoulder right after I finished it. Showed me some exercises. Didn't charge me.
yeah, there you go, there you go. Dude, I want to go back to the builders that, especially in like a cost plus world, will just to be competitive with the bid, it just gets to a race at the bottom, right? It's these guys that go out there and they're in a bidding war with multiple different builders, and they're trying to like cut stuff or promise things and throw out numbers that they know they're just going to change order the shit out of it. What's your opinion as to why guys do that?
I had no idea because the higher end house I was just talking about, oh, the second one I had a bad experience with. They told me, and that house went over budget, but it kind of goes back to what I'm saying. On the things that I had budgeted and I had estimated for, we were still under that 10% threshold. The
Mm-hmm.
rest was things that they
Through
added
on,
or
yeah,
threw on. But go back to, they said that I was $100,000 more
okay,
than the other guy they got a bid from on a $600,000 house. And I'm like, you can say I was higher, but I mean, and towards the end, as it got a little more hostile, they almost felt like I was just letting everybody overcharge them. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I'm in a town, the Tupelo metro area where we are. I don't know what the census number says, but I'm going to say the statistical area where we are is probably around 200,000 at the most.
okay,
I mean, Tupelo is our biggest city, and it's 39,000 population.
okay,
So here we are. There's probably 25, 30 custom home builders in this little tri-county area. And we sit down at home builder associations meeting, and especially a lot of like when you start getting into like real specialized trades, plumbers, electricians, heating and air, and we're all using the same guys. So there's nothing special. And there's two lumber companies in town. So there should never be a swing of, what was that, 12%, 13% price difference between me and the other person. He just threw a number out there.
and dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think that the people that do that, they are willing to just call it what it is, like risk reputation on like winning the bid, change ordering the shit out of the customer, and hitting the number that you were initially bidding?
I don't know.
Because it just doesn't make sense to me. To your point, it's like it's all the same trades, right? And I think a lot of like this
Yeah.
is where like you get into like the business side of things, is like the sub and trade relationships, and there's only so many subs and trades, and the good ones want to work with the good builders, right? They want to work with the builders that are going to be paying them in terms of like material and suppliers. Like, you could argue that you could be ordering material that's not provided locally, right?
Yeah.
But for the most
And,
part, like when you're looking at this, you're going like they're all doing the same stuff. There's different levels of subs and vendors and the quality of work they do. But for the most part, if you're bidding out what the client is wanting, it shouldn't be as competitive. It should be coming down to like who's providing the best experience, who's got the trust of the customer, who does the customer actually want to work with.
yeah, and it's the same way. It comes back to like custom cabinetry. There's 5 large custom cabinetry shops in the area.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I said, it's just not enough spread to make up that kind of difference. It's even like I helped my in-laws in Tennessee remodel the fellowship hall in their church.
Mm-hmm.
Different market, right outside of Memphis, a little larger metropolitan area. And this is what blows my mind, but anyway, we're not going to get into that. But their sub pricing was about 3 to 5% less than ours.
Okay.
And then probably on the material side, it was depending on what you was shot for in volume, probably in the same neighborhood. So I guess realistically, maybe you could find 5% of that by using all out of town subcontractors.
Okay.
Oh,
you're good. You got me?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're thinking like the competitive angle there is that they're just like they're bringing trades in, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. But I still don't. I don't know where you would find it. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think that's the other thing too is like when you're talking about you talked. There was a couple of projects. I think it was what was it 2008 or no, it
Yeah.
was during COVID. You were talking about COVID, I think, when
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple of projects that you were just really aided on, and you were talking that like at the beginning of this, you were tracking 75 to 80% of your cost. Do you think there's a level of this where builders out there they're like they're coming in at these numbers that are so low that don't make sense? And anyone that's in the business would look at it and be like, you're not making $1 on this. Like you're building this house for free, basically. Do you think most of them are just like ignorance is bliss and they're missing those 75 to 80% build costs, or they're not tracking things the way that they should, and they truly believe to their core that they're making money on it, but in reality they aren't?
Possibly. But I mean, you know as well as I do, if you've got a volume, you can run a long, long time and never know you're not making money.
Totally.
As long as you got cash flow, like a lot of cash flow has a lot of issues. So when you slow down is where the problems start arising. And you start seeing the holes in your plan.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel well, and that's again, that's assuming that like at the end of a project and when you're closing out books, you are evaluating that. But then it goes back to like, if you're not tracking project financials, if you're not job costing, if you're totally like hoping and praying that your volume and your job cost volume is going to carry, or your cash flow is going to carry you, then it's, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, at what point do you come up for air and you're looking and you're like, are we even making money? I'm paying bills, right? I'm paying bills. I'm selling houses. I'm doing it, but are we actually making interesting money?
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
And I mean, I'm guilty. I'm not going to say guilty, but I've ran the same issue myself, and that's probably about 3 years ago. I'm not even sure how long I've been on Adaptive, but when we struck out on this journey to dig into it and start doing a better job, it was that reason right there. Then I realized that we really weren't making any money. We just had 6 or 7 projects going at one time. We had enough cash flow coming in that, you know,
you can keep stuff moving.
Okay. Keep stuff moving. But the moment you're a big hiccup last year, right leading up to the election, and I'm not making something political, but I'm just saying what happened. Leading up to the election, everybody was on pause.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And like nobody knew we're finishing up projects we had on the books, and we didn't have anything sold going into about June of last year, July, for starts August, September, October, November, that area. So we went from, I don't know, nothing booked to like 7 in like a 4-week period.
That's insane.
Well, when you book 7 houses, but you haven't broken ground on anything and you're finishing what you have, we had, pretty much 3 months And luckily, I had a remodel job that could sustain me and my helper through that time that we ended up having to self perform most of the work. I knew better days were coming, but that's what you run into.
Why and why? Like, I'm curious on this. So, in a 4 week period, you went from like nothing in the backlog to having seven. Did I hear that right?
About
Okay.
4 6 weeks.
4 6 weeks.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
went,
I'm talking about, I had zero good quality leads at all from probably like, we'll say February through May of last year.
yeah.
No, I mean, I had a leads obviously, but like legit was ready to build realistic expectations, financing in place, leads
Yep.
for that time period. Didn't have any.
And then you went to getting seven on the books. Do you collect deposits up front?
Oh, when they sign the contract, we take a small deposit to put you in line. We don't take any significant deposit until we start moving dirt and get ready to build the house.
Yeah, but don't you have like costs like prefacing that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we do like I guess you'd say a pre construction kind of agreement.
yeah,
Depending on the size house, we'll take anywhere from 1,500 to 3,500, and that's just literally that doesn't go to the cost of the build. That's just literally paying us for getting everything ready for you to build.
got it. Okay. Okay, so that's like covering you and your helper's time.
Yeah,
Cool.
plans, meetings, permits. The software that we use to draw our plans, plotters, paper, everything to get ready to build a house.
Okay. Okay, and so I guess, and when you had those seven, so there wasn't enough there. Like, I guess where did the remodel come in to float and carry you guys?
When our work was fizzling out early summer, I
May,
had this
June. Yeah.
yeah, one remodel that just, you know, worked us through until then.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so then you landed these seven and you were off to the races and you had pipeline to work with.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. I guess I would say what is one perspective that you carry or comment that you would share with the listeners that are maybe thinking about getting into building or maybe wanting to take a similar path to you that's not maybe as motivated to go and build the biggest, baddest, sexiest custom home, but build a product that is available or is available and an option for the majority of the public. What would you share with them?
Definitely have to have your financial, like I said, if you're going, because I've had comments from other builders. I don't see how you keep building these little houses and make any money.
Right.
So you definitely got to have your financial record keeping in order. You got to stay lean, you know, and people that build small houses, you're going to alienate, this sounds crazy, but you're going to alienate more customers on small, affordable houses when you pull up at their house in a Denali pickup truck.
Yeah.
Then you're going to repel if you pull up in an old raggedy beat up truck.
Right.
And so, and then there's a lot of things that you just don't have when you're building small houses that you have the luxury to afford building bigger houses. You don't need a bunch of skid steers and mini excavators, a lot of equipment. We literally have, we got two trucks and dump trailer, and you know, shoot, most of the time I drive my little 2011 Honda Element from job to job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, go ahead.
you got to watch your pennies. And I'm preaching to the choir on this because I'm not saying I was the best at this for years because I wasn't.
Of course.
Um,
But it's worth it to you, right?
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you might not be driving Denali's up to the job site. You might not have a whole fleet of skid steers and mini excavators and stuff like that. But why is it worth it to you? And where is that a message that could like resonate with a builder that's like, damn, I just really want to build for this population of person, but I don't know how to. Like, what keeps you going? Why is it worth it to you?
The customer satisfaction. When you sit down with a young person, most of most of the people we build for are under the age of 35, or you sit down with somebody that's living in a 1986 mobile home with the floors falling in and thought they never could afford the house.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they just want to be heard. I think that's why I like my TikTok social media does what it does, because it's nice to watch, some of the other bigger guys, like your Matt Risingers and Nick Schiffers and all them. But I mean, you're just a guy on your lunch break working at the factory making $21 an hour, and all you see on social media is stuff that you could never, in your mind, you could never afford. I mean, America's a land of opportunity. You can afford anything if you try hard enough. But I mean,
Yeah.
realistically,
Yeah.
and it's mainly just putting people in houses who didn't think they could afford a new house
Yeah.
or build, period.
Dude, I love it. I mean, like, I think, A, this is a great episode. Thanks for coming on. But B, like, I talk to a lot of like the big custom home builders, luxury home builders. I think you bring a perspective that is becoming more and more lost. And I think when you talk about like just even like these inventory shortages that are happening in the United States, right, with interest rates going crazy and not enough houses for people to buy, and people are talking that conversation. It's like building a home with someone or buying a home that was a new build that wasn't from one of the big national builders, someone like you, Trent, is like totally off the conversation, because I think anyone who's building a custom home is going to be this crazy expensive thing. And it's going to be way more than anything I'd ever want, need, or could afford. And it's like, I don't know. I think you can get into a semi-custom new home built by someone who gives a shit, that's going to get it to you at an honest price at a solid quality, is a missing conversation.
Yeah. And the generational wealth you're building for people.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing that we didn't even touch on, but most of these homes I've built, at the end, they're closing at 77, 74, 70% loan to value.
Yeah.
So these people are, six-figure equity
Love it.
the day they move in.
Yeah.
I mean, the house we finished today. I mean, I think their final appraisal, they were like $92,000 in equity.
Dude, that's awesome. And
The
what
day
what
they
are the,
moved
what the
in.
owner what'd your client say about that?
I don't. I think they're happy with the value and stuff, but the other thing is, the whole problem. This is a whole other soapbox, but the whole country as a whole has a lot of financial illiteracy. There's not, people don't understand that, like what their net worth is
Right.
and things like that. And because it's not $92,000 sitting in the bank, they don't understand, like, generational wise. And the other part of it is, like, if you start small like that, it's 92,000 in equity today, the average appreciation of a home. So in, say, 10 years, when they do want to upgrade to a larger home, they're going to have 150, 160, $170,000 in equity.
Right.
I mean, the realistic, the catchphrase of "forever home." It does kind of bother me because I sit here and look at somebody, they're like 26 years old, maybe one kid is, a year or two old, and then you're like, yeah, we're building our forever home. I'm like, okay. like, like, and I may be wrong, but I'm like, I don't really think when, you're going to live in this house 70 years or 60 years, but I mean, okay.
Wait, why don't you think so? Why don't you think so?
I don't know. It may be, I don't know. Maybe I just moved a lot,
Okay.
when I was young. I don't know.
Okay.
And maybe I just think things change, situations change. What if you get divorced? What if somebody dies?
Yeah. Sure. Totally. I think, I do I think there's certainly we're a much more mobile population than we ever have been. Like the
Yeah.
accessibility to move is unreal, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um and I think you might be seeing a little bit of a swing back, maybe just with like this home ownership. I mean, I'm in Denver, I just sold a house, I'm getting ready to move.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that people are starting to view it being more of a buyer's market now, and how long that, like, I guess my age group has had to sit on the sidelines to buy homes for the last, call it 5 years, just with crazy interest. Well, maybe not the last 5 years, but the last 3 years, right?
I
two
mean, we had
years.
crazy prices and then crazy interest rates.
That's right.
So
That's right. That's
it's
right.
been 5 years, you might as well say.
Yeah, it's been 5 years between the crazy appreciation. People had to sit on the sidelines, missed out on the interest rates, then the interest rates started to swing and the appreciation held. Point being is, I think you might be looking at a population of person that's like, I think I could get into a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home and raise a family in it very comfortably, very easily for 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And the other part of my customer base and what I feel like, I had a discussion with someone the other day, and they're like, uh, he does work for our local production home builder, I guess you'd say. But they have like 5 houses that's sitting on the market, and everything about them's right. They're like 3 beds, 2 baths, good price range, entry level homes, like 16 to 1,900 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
and they're sitting, and I'm like, doesn't make any sense. And we were talking about it, and I said, well, here's what it is. I think the Gen Z, a lot of them don't want to be in a subdivision. I think there's a big, people want to be out, have a little bit of land, have a garden. For some reason, everybody wants some chickens, that kind of thing. And I think that's driving a lot of it too.
Yeah. It's not just having a yard to mow anymore. They want to, what do they call it? It's
Homesteading.
homesteading. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real thing.
But dude, you were kind of talking about that earlier, weren't you? Where it's like you've got like the old folks of like
Yeah.
over a lifetime stood up 50, 60, 70, 100 acres, and they're
Yeah.
willing to like parse off an acre or two for a family member or even just someone they know so that they can build. I mean, dude, you could, an acre of land, you could throw a garden on there and raise some chickens till your
Yeah.
heart content.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Dude,
mean, my neighbors across the road, they literally have a about 400 or 500 acre tract, and it's got frontage on 3 county roads. And literally every one of those family members, if you look at the parcel maps, got a little acre where their house is,
yeah.
and then they own the big parcel together
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I don't know. I think this is an interesting perspective for sure. I mean, huge speculation, but I think you might see a little bit of a shift of how this game is played. And I think it will go back into the quality of product that is being built by someone who actually knows how to get it done. Quality of product being built, subcontractors and trades. Only the strongest will survive, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the general contractors, like the person who actually knows, like realistically, as close to the estimate as possible, what can we get you into this house for? And everyone makes money and we can run healthy businesses off it, and you guys get what you need. Go ahead.
And I think the other thing that's going on is, and I keep saying Gen Z, but a lot of my customers are Gen Z or very late millennials, like
Right.
right on the change. You know, like me, I always say I'm a Jillennial
A
because I'm literally
Jillennial.
born the year it changes from Gen X to millennial. So I'm like, I call myself a Jillennial. But, and, but the other thing I think young people want, they don't want to be, and this is a good trend, I believe. There is some consumerism that runs rampant, but I think a lot of your younger, because I've got a guy that works for me, he's 25, and they don't want to be a slave to their job to pay for a big house to sit in it all weekend. They want to live their life. They want experiences. They want to travel, or they want to do their hobbies. And so I think that's the other thing I'm saying, because I can tell you without diving into too much personal information, but I've built some houses for several people here recently that they could have afforded a lot more house than what they built, because they come to the table because they've been sitting on the sidelines for a long time, waiting for the right time, with substantial amounts of cash. I'm talking about, high five figures, low six figures of cash to inject into this build project. Well, instead of saying, "Oh, well, the bank approves me for 350,000. I got 100. Let's build a $450,000 house." They're more like, you know, we, I want my house payment to be this, so we need to spend this because we like doing this.
Right.
So whatever we got to spend of our bucket of money, we'd rather be here than have a bigger house. The other thing is, I've seen the trend going is smaller house, higher quality materials.
I believe it. What they want less of it, just even from a maintenance standpoint, but they want it to be quality. They want it to last. They want it to be what they want.
They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
They want something that's durable, and right place, right time for me. Been building barndominiums for the word existed. It's a hot trend right now. Went viral on TikTok, and everybody reaches out. They're like, "Do you just build barndominiums?" I'm like, honestly, I built more brick houses last year than I did barndominiums, but I know a lot about them. I've been doing them for a long time. But let's just sit down. And I think the last key to success, I'll say, was somebody getting in the small house building business is being design build and knowing the design aspect of it and that back end of it, and having the ability to do that is a big, big, big advantage I have.
Yeah.
Because we can sit down with a piece of paper, we can make out a list of this is what we're looking for in this house. Then you can design something that tailor made to that budget.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Totally. And this could be the wrong usage of the term, but isn't that like basically considered like value engineering?
Yeah, value engineering.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we made a shift in the last real conscious shift in the last probably year. Been upping our material quality, like we use 5/8 plywood decking on all our houses instead of OSB. We use real Tyvek brand Tyvek with the matching tapes and sealers and all that. We've done zip system before, and zip just depends on what their market price is doing. You know, right now it's pretty expensive. It's a pretty big cost add on a house. So we back up, and we're trying to give people the best we can. And our next step going forward is storefront. We're going to try to start buying some of our materials direct.
Love it.
Because some stuff, that I would request that nobody else asks for, the lumber companies and building supplies don't want to stock it because I'm the only one that buys it. So we're looking at like increasing our quality on some things.
Love it, dude. I love it. Well, I'm excited to follow you along, dude. I think this is great. I think this was a much needed message on builders, budgets, and beers. I appreciate you for being the one to share it, dude. We'll wrap it there. But where can they find you, Trent, to follow you along?
The best place to find me is on TikTok, and it's the
for
Country Builder.
everyone that's listening, not watching, if you saw Trent, you'd be shocked to hear that this guy's a TikTok influencer. I'm sorry to cut you off, but what's your TikTok handle? What's it called?
The Country Builder.
The Country Builder.
And it's the Country Builder because I never could say rural where it sounded like I can't say that word. So I said, I'm the Country Builder.
The Country Builder, not the rural. The rural builder. Yeah.
I'm probably one of the few people you'll have on here that we build houses where you literally do not have cell phone service.
Yeah. Actually,
I have a Starlink Mini I keep in my car just for that reason.
Do you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so the Country Builder, go check out Trent, follow him along. Appreciate you, dude, for hopping on.
All right, thank you.
See ya.